Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
Peter, where are you?
Help, please.
He's in a tiny box.
Computer.
I'm in a tiny box. I don't think so far the audience is aware of this, but I've had COVID for like a week and I think by the time this goes out, certainly for over a week. So I didn't stream on Monday, but I was too ill to even put a tweet out to say I'm not streaming today. So there was just no stream, and you guys were both off. So there was just a mystery no stream, and nobody knew why.
Yeah.
I've been at home for the week, but I'm starting to feel better. I'm testing fainter and fainter positive lines. So I'm getting there now. Thank goodness.
You broke your 3-year streak of not having it.
I did. Yeah, I know. And I expected it to be not as bad as it was as well, because a lot of people who I know who've had it have just said for me, fortunately, it was just like a bit of a heavy cold, but it's been pretty rough actually. So
bless you.
Glad it's
Last
subsiding
time I had it
now.
was pretty rough, so I'm not jealous that you've got it.
Yeah.
But here he is anyway.
I'm here. How are you guys?
Not bad. I mean, better than you, by the sounds of it. So that's a mercy. But thank you for being here, Peter. I know that
No problem.
you could have just had a sleep and
Yeah.
that would have been fine. But he soldiers on and he joins us for this podcast, which is very
works
exciting.
so hard. Such a hard-working man. Hardest working man in showbiz.
He is. Peter Austin, hardest working man in showbiz. So there's a slight delay in our conversation back and forth here. It shouldn't affect the general conversation, I would say, of the podcast. No. But if you notice something's amiss, it's because Peter's in a tiny box on the desk, but in real life he's in a box-shaped room in his house and not here with us live. So there we are. Would you guys like to talk maybe about the sponsor that we have this week for this illustrious podcast?
Sure would. I have it this week.
Do you, Ashton?
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one, though, because it wasn't from a company per se.
Okay.
It was more just like a kind of, can you get the word out? This is what we're trying to do kind of situation from the gaming public.
Right.
Yeah?
Okay. Sort of an announcement.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, go to our Kickstarter or our crowdfunding or sign our petition kind of thing.
Okay.
You guys may know games coming out in May that people are a bit upset about. It's not Legend of Zelda. It's a different one. And they're upset because they feel like they've been a bit fibbed to and they feel a bit let down. So a bunch of Mardy fans, they're banding together to pay for a rebrand of Arcane and Bethesda's new game, Redfall, and make them change the name to Dreadful.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Which I personally think is a bit harsh.
It sounds a bit harsh, yeah.
But that's what they want to do. So they were like, can you get the word out that this is our mission? And I said, have you not got anything else you could be doing? Anything more important? And they said, no, let's change the name of Redfall to Dreadful. They're just want to add a D on the beginning. They're not changing it to the actual spelling of the word dreadful. They just want to add the...
So technically it may not even mean dreadful.
No.
Or do they want it to mean dreadful?
They want it to mean dreadful.
Damn.
They want it to be a sick burn.
They haven't even played it
It's clever.
yet.
I like it. It's great.
Yeah. Well, it's not real though, so don't worry. People are upset, but they're not campaigning to change the name of the game
that's
to
good.
Dreadful.
I feel like that would be a bit of an overreaction.
Yeah.
In a way. But maybe we'll talk about that a bit more later on. Who bloody knows? No, we're not sponsored by Dreadfall. We are, of course, sponsored by our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1 per month, you could submit questions to this podcast. And there's loads of other bloody tiers available and stuff like that as well. It's sad. I'm looking around. I don't know if he's with you today, Peter, by any chance, but Dead Island 2 The Spider should really be here to celebrate the not awful reviews of Dead Island 2.
Solid sevens.
Solid sevens. Where are you, Dead Island 2
I don't see
The
him.
Spider?
There's a bit more like cobweb around, but no spoother.
No spooder.
I don't have a very spider-friendly house, so I don't think we've ever had a spider since we moved in.
Lots
It's
of
too new
conkers
and
around.
Horrible.
Lots of
Yeah,
conkers
it's
around.
full of conkers.
Yeah,
Conkers
do you not know
Keep them out.
People say you should put conkers in the corner of your rooms and it stops the spiders.
That doesn't sound right.
I don't think it's real, but that's always something that my nan used to say, like, oh,
People
make
do
sure
say
you
it.
put conkers around, it'll stop the spiders coming in.
Okay. I think she just wanted you to go outside and
Get conkers.
just be outside for a while. When you go get some more conkers, Ashton?
Yeah.
Peter,
Yes,
have you got the first question for us?
I have. Question 1 comes from Callum McEwen, who says, "Hi Bap, let's pretend that they're making a new Smash Bros game and you three have been asked to sort out new characters. You get 2 each. One obvious one, I'm looking at you, Peter's Spyro pick, and one left fielder. Literally no one is off limits. Who you got? Cheers, McFortune Cookie."
Thank you,
Thank
Callum.
you, Callum.
Mr. Fortune Cookie.
Yes.
Let me move this over here onto a different window. So I have gone... I thought it would be now too obvious to go with the Spyro pick, given that it was literally in the question. So I've decided not to go for Spyro. But instead, I think I've gone with arguably someone who might be better for Smash Bros. Anyway, which would be Crash Bandicoot.
That's a good one.
He's got arms and legs. Spyro's just all legs.
Yeah.
Is he? Is he all
think-
legs?
Is he?
Well,
Possibly.
technically, the front legs would probably be arms, but
Yeah, he does have... I think he's got opposable thumbs. But I do think that Crash, he can punch and kick and spin. He's got a bazooka. He can slide, skid, body slam, do various things, sprint. He's got his mask. He's got, friends he could summon in. He could throw fruit. I think he's probably got probably on balance, a few more strings to his bow without sort of forcing it. Spyro, you could come up with some extra stuff, but it would be a bit more difficult. So Crash seems like a shoo-in, really. Was he in All-Stars, Ben? Was he in PlayStation All-Stars?
No, he was one of those ones that everyone said, where are all the PlayStation mascots?
Yeah.
We got Fat Princess and 2 versions of Cole McGrath from Infamous instead. So
Yeah. So I've gone with Crash Bandicoot. Do you guys want to do your obvious ones and then we'll cycle around, or shall I do
Sure.
my...
Sure
my-
we'll do
can.
that.
Yeah, let's
my
do that.
obvious one, I think everyone is going to know what I'm going to say. Favorite game,
Yeah.
favorite girl, Aloy from Horizon.
Okay.
One, because she's freaking badass. She can kill big robots, so she could definitely take out Crash Bandicoot. if
Yeah,
was
suck
given
it,
the
Crash
opportunity.
Bandicoot.
Suck it,
Yeah.
Crash. I've killed my fair share of animals as Aloy, and I'm sure she can start again. I just think she's got a lot of skills. She's got a big stick, bow and arrow.
Yep.
She comes with a billion different weapons with all different kinds of ammo types.
It's true.
So I can just throw a big spear that's going to blow up at them, or bombs, or shoot you with corrosive arrows, all kinds of things.
All kinds of
and she can maybe summon in an overridden watcher or one of the robots that she's overridden to come and help fight alongside her. And she'll do all of it by saying, "I've got to go save the world." And she'll just keep saying that over and over again.
But first, let me complete
Yeah.
these optional races.
I've got to get Gaia. Elizabeth Sobek, Alpha Prime. Just keep doing that.
She
She's
just-
stabbing.
It's like an action figure with six
Yeah.
catchphrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That's my
good.
obvious pick.
I like
You're
that
my
one.
favourite deputy.
Yeah.
etc.
Yes.
There's a snake in my boot.
Yeah.
Reach for the sky. My obvious choice is Commander Shepard or Commander Shephimd. We could have both, probably, because all we'd need is different voice lines and a model.
Yeah.
They could do exactly the same thing. Because you've got your guns, obviously.
Guns, obs.
You've got your Omni tool,
Yeah.
which gives you the melee attack. You've got biotic powers, so you can, not probiotic powers.
No.
That's yogurt.
Yeah.
Biotic powers,
Yeah.
so you can use mind strength to yeet stuff around. You could call in an orbital strike or something from the Normandy. There's all sorts of options, and I mean I don't know if Commander Shepard or Shephimd is even that relevant nowadays. But there's heavy rumors that Shepard and Shephimd will probably be returning in some form in the next Mass Effect reboot that they go for. Given that Liara was in the trailer, so maybe there's a chance that we could get the commanders in there. That'd be a pretty good one.
That is a good one.
Nice. I like it. I'd like to refer back to the question now where the phrase "literally no one is off limits" was used,
Okay.
just to justify the fact that, hey, Smash Bros. Not only is it just a good time where a load of characters have a fight, but it's a celebration of gaming history, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I mean,
Yes.
principally Nintendo history mostly, but especially nowadays, they're introducing people from other platforms and stuff. But I think why not go back to an absolute classic character, the Tetromino from Tetris.
What's the offensive capabilities of the Tetromino?
Well, maybe the various shapes it can be, and there are like 6 of them or something. It could almost phase. It just sort of like fuzzes a little bit, and it briefly becomes things that actually are that shape. So like the L shape, it could like become an axe briefly, and it like swings, and then it phases back, or a gun. Indeed, that might be a bit more offensive. And then it like phases back in. I mean, there are 2 L's, so maybe there's an axe and a gun.
Yeah.
The T could be like maybe the plunger on a dynamite bomb thing. Mm-hmm. The square could be a square bomb. I don't know, but
a square gun.
A square gun. It could be a square lion that eats you or something.
Yeah.
Nothing's off limits.
Nothing's off limits.
Nothing is off limits. I think the Tetromino. Why do we not have that classic gaming character in Smash Bros. Yet? So that's what
great question.
I'm putting forward.
Why isn't it in there?
That is such a good point. I have one that might be a bit weird. I would like the bunga from Bug Snacks.
Oh, yes, please.
Just so you go, bunga,
bunga, bunga, bunga, bunga.
This is just so good.
Yeah.
And also, in Isle of Big Snacks, it's ginormous. So
I've not played that. I do want to see Big Bunga.
Big Bunga's huge.
Okay.
So you can become Big Bunga sometimes. Even when it's Little Bunga, you can. When they hit you in the game, you go flying. Like they ram you, and that you go very far. So I'd quite like to just major ram attack from the Bunga.
Yeah.
And maybe like as his like special kind of, he's got his points up or however Smash Bros works. He just summons in a bunch of other fruit and veg. And they just start going hog wild. A bunch of little straws.
Yeah.
And the
other ones.
What are
they called?
I
can't. Bunga's the only one I can remember.
Yeah,
now.
Because it's the best one.
Because he is the best one.
And it says its name just a nice way. Bunga, bunga, bunga.
Yeah, it's just very enjoyable.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So I would like a bunga from Bug Snacks.
Okay, that's a good one. Now, for my weird one, I'm hesitant to like open the floodgates for real people to show up, because then, what has become of our beloved Super Smash Bros. It's filled with American sports stars I've never heard of. However, the Invisible Man, John Cena, I feel would be a great addition to Super Smash Bros. Because he already comes equipped with a crazy arsenal. But then, he's got all his taunts and his catchphrases and things. He could just go kind of hog wild and really lay the smackdown on that Tetromino or Aloy, for example. You can see Aloy get an AA. I do. I think it would be quite funny. So
yeah,
my pick is John Cena in his wrestling, not just normal John Cena.
Yeah.
Or PGA Tour 2K John Cena in his shirt, or even Peacemaker John Cena. I want John Cena in his jorts, his armbands, and his fluorescent cap and t-shirt.
But he could still, he could have additional attacks that do involve like a golf club, perhaps, or some other things.
Many times, he's just like Mario in many ways. Actually,
yeah,
he's
is
been
just like Mario.
He's been in lots of things. He's played lots of sports. Get him in there.
I personally think that he would show up in something like Multiverses. Like they'd be like, coming to Multiverses, John Cena.
There's already
and
a
you'd be
stylized
like,
version of him, because he was in that bloody, what was it, the Scooby-Doo crossover movie with WWE. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay, they did a crossover, like it was a Scooby-Doo WrestleMania movie, and it's animated, and there's lots of wrestlers in it, including The Undertaker and Triple H.
Wow.
And John Cena just looks like a cartoon character anyway. And
well, Scooby-Doo is Warner Brothers, isn't it? So
is he?
Yeah.
Is he in Multiverses?
Yeah.
Well, he's in Multiverse. I don't know who owns him, but yeah, he's in that, isn't he? Or Shaggy
Well,
is,
actually,
or someone.
Scooby-Doo isn't. Shaggy and Velma are.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, then he's got friends already that could just sort of sneak him in and then get cartoon John Cena in Multiverse. You know what? We're not even talking about Smash Bros. Anymore. Get him in Multiverses whenever they boot the servers back up.
Yeah.
That's where he needs to be. Well, fantastic. I think the future of Smash Bros is extremely bright. However, and we did this segment when you were off last week, Peter, so forgive us because you may not know what it is. It might take you a little while to get used to it. We were worried we're going to have to do it again without you this week. And then you would have been really lost next week. What's it called, Ashton? Can you read
It's
that for
called What We Playin.
Right.
It's What We Play in time to talk about the games, what we have been playing. Peter, you were on holiday and away for a week, and then you immediately came home and got into bed. So have you played any games?
I have played a tiny bit of video games. I was sad because when I tested COVID positive, I thought it would mostly be a case of, well, I just have to work from home and I'll probably be fine. Because as I say, I've heard other people say that for them, it was maybe a bit of a heavy cold. Other people have had it worse, obviously. I'm not trying to deny that it's a serious thing. But I thought, I'll probably be able to do a bit of comfort gaming and just work from home, and that will be okay. I felt too unwell to even just play the easiest, nicest game that I'm most familiar with, whatever that would be. And I really was a bit cross about that, actually. I was lying in bed and I was pissed off that I couldn't go and at least play Spyro or something to make me feel better. And I can't taste anything either, so I couldn't even eat junk food to make myself feel better.
Rubbish.
So I've had nothing to make me feel, to offer a bit of self-comfort. However, last night I was well enough to sit on the sofa and play about 2 hours of Resident Evil. So I did that, and I enjoyed it for the most part, except I didn't realize until it was too late that I finished something like chapter 11, and when I loaded into chapter 12, I realized the area I'd just come from I couldn't get back to, which is fine. There are various areas like that, but there was one treasure in there on my map that I had missed, and I'd got every single treasure so far in the game, and I checked my previous, because I'd accidentally just overwritten my most recent save file with an end of chapter save. So I looked at any other save file I might have, and it was from 2 hours before, where I'd done all this faffing around fighting a boss and stuff, and I was like, that's it. The 105% run, as we say on my streams, is dead.
Oh no!
So
mate.
You're gonna have
I've
to
now
just
got
play
to
again.
play. Well, yeah, and I am playing again on stream, or at least I started to do that ages ago. It seems like at this point, but so I'm just gonna have to finish that game now with one little treasure icon glowing right in the middle of the castle, and it will just make me feel really cross. So I almost regret sitting down and playing my first couple of hours of games for the first time in a week and a half, but whatever. It happened. And I can at least keep that save file that was only 2 hours away from the treasure rather than start right from the beginning. If I really, really decide I want to do a 100% treasure run, I can at least start from halfway through the game and do it from there. So it's an option. But other than that, I don't think I've played anything at all. Maybe actually since the last time I was on a podcast, I might have played some more Resident Evil back then. But yeah, that will have been all I was playing anyway before I went away as well. So Resident Evil is it.
Lovely.
I played
Ashton.
some games this week.
Yes.
I was a bit also unwell this weekend. So I felt like, when you are off sick or you're not at work and you feel like you've wasted a day because you can't play a game. Well, that's how I felt, because I wasn't very well on Monday and I was just kind of lying and staring at the ceiling. And I was like, I could play Horizon Forbidden West now and try and get to the end of the game before the DLC comes out. But instead, I just lied and faced the ceiling all day and just kind of moved from sofa to bed, to depending on what I was feeling on where the sun was.
Yeah.
Like a cat. I just followed the sun around the house.
Right.
But I played some Disney Dreamlight Valley. There is new characters, Simba and Nala from The Lion King. And they've got a bunch of new kind of quests that you can do when you load back in the game at the moment, which is pretty good. So I've been doing that. But there's a bunch of ones that was come back tomorrow. And I'm like, I want to do it all right now. I don't want to have to come back tomorrow.
I assume you can't do the thing that people do with
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and just put the date forwards.
I don't think so.
That's a
no.
shame.
Because I'd have to like do that with my entire computer, and that just seems like a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah. And also I have been playing some Horizon Forbidden West. The DLC came out yesterday. I haven't played any of the DLC because I haven't finished my New Game Plus run yet, and you can't start until the end of the game. So I'm kind of like powering my way through the story now, just skipping on everything else that I've got. I'll do it later. But I'm a bit annoyed, actually. I'm going to be a bit annoyed for a second.
Okay, go on.
I went on Twitter yesterday morning just to check on my notifications, and the Gamer magazine, they put one of what I would deem as quite a significant part of the DLC story, just as the headline of their article and on the tweet. And it's not an integral part of like the story and any of the lore, but it's something that I would have liked to have gone into the DLC not knowing. Like it would have been a nice thing to be like, oh my gosh, what a surprise. But now it's not a surprise. Now they've ruined it. At 9 a.m. on the day it came out.
Yeah, that's a dick move.
That's a real dick move, Gamer magazine.
There's a way to handle that.
Yeah.
That isn't.
Like you could have been like, oh, did you know this happens in the DLC? And I could be like, well, I'm going to ignore that because I can't click on that because I want to play the game.
Yeah.
But you clickbait titled me the opposite way because I actively did not click on your article because I was annoyed that you told me what you were going to say in the article before it even I'd clicked into it.
That's no good.
I almost unfollowed them. I was that annoyed about it. I almost was like, well, that's crossed the line.
You didn't, but you didn't tweet them and say, "Hey, you've crossed the line."
No, I didn't.
Did you look at the replies?
I just scrolled away straight away because I was like, I don't want any more spoilers, and I was just sad. So
That's
I was
no
a bit
good.
annoyed about that yesterday. But I haven't played it yet. I'm really excited. I'm hopefully going to have plowed through the story by the weekend, and then I can spend the weekend playing the new DLC. I'm excited. So.
That does sound very exciting. We'll hear all about that next week.
Yes,
I imagine.
Hopefully.
Excellent. I have finished Resident Evil 4 Remake. Peter, I was sad I couldn't talk to you about this last week because I took the plunge. I bought it, and
goodness me, you've got through that.
It's bloody brilliant, is what it is. What a game! I played because I bought it not weekend just gone, but the weekend before, and then I spent all of Sunday playing it, and then played it a couple of nights after work and finished it off on last Saturday. So it took me about 5 days to finish it without playing it every day. But God, it's really, really good. It's so good. And I'm very glad that I was finally able to experience what many people, yourself included, have called the best Resident Evil game for the longest time, albeit in a completely different manner to how it was originally released, but it's really good. I had a fantastic time with it, and I really wanted to do New Game Plus, but there's other things coming out soon, and I'm just sort of now I'm in the no man's land between finishing, because I bought Resi 4 thinking I can finish that before Star Wars comes out, and now there's a week to go, and I'm thinking I don't want to start any new games now. So I'm just sort of freewheeling until next week. I think it comes out next week, doesn't it? It's very soon anyway.
I want to say the 24th or something, maybe the 28th.
Yeah,
it's not
the end of the month. It's really close.
Because Dead Island comes out tomorrow.
Yesterday,
time of recording.
At the time of release.
Yeah, and so I think it's like a week between them. So
it's a tricky situation to be in. Pray for me, everyone. But yes, Resident Evil 4 Remake, phenomenal. Really, really good. I liked it.
Did you get all the treasures?
I didn't get all the treasures, no. But I did enjoy throwing harpoons at fish. That was something I was unexpectedly... those little side quests you get, those requests.
Yeah, the side quests are fun.
Called.
Yeah,
they are fun. And one of them said, "Hey, go hunt this big fish. It's in this lake, and it's roughly here." And it shows a photo of sort of the angle of a dock kind of thing. So I headed over there, and I was like scanning the water, like, so is it going to be obvious, or am I going to be able to see this? And I saw I didn't actually see anything. I just threw a harpoon in the rough direction of the thing, and it made a noise, and it went shung, and I was like, I think I just hit something. So I went over there and I got the fish. No scoped it.
Nice.
Just no scoped
Wow.
the fish. It was
Wow.
great. But yeah, a lot of those requests, I didn't realize until I was quite near the end that not all of the requests you get are then going to be for the next area you go to. Some of them are for the previous area, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I immediately failed a lot of requests because I just
Right.
thought, oh, okay, this must be in the next
Yeah.
area, but it wasn't. And then I went on a point of no return thing and just failed it immediately. But, you know, I wasn't going for a perfect run. I wasn't trying to get all the treasures. But I enjoyed stuffing jewels into various like crowns and goblets and
Yeah.
stuff to increase their value to sell to the merchant. And it was one of those games, I was talking about it last week, that I just kept thinking about when I wasn't playing because I
Yeah.
wanted to, I haven't felt this way about, not to put it on too high of a pedestal, but I haven't felt this way about a game in a while where not only am I thinking about it when I'm not playing it, but I'm also just like, it almost gripped me in a way that playing through a new From Software Soulsborne game is, where it's like, I don't know what's going to be around this corner, but something
Yeah.
horrible is going to be there. And I'm really, I'm not nervous or scared, but like I'm excited, like anything could happen and I have
Yeah.
no idea what it's going to be.
Don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to be
It's going to be
terrible.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
going to be awful. And those shaky boys who shoot spikes, awful. Truly one of the worst enemies.
those ones, yeah.
I've ever
Yeah.
seen. So
Yeah, I've not even got that far
horrible.
yet because
Oh my
I've stopped
God.
to do every quest and tried to get every treasure, and I'm going into every single corner of this game and trying to get everything I can. But those guys, their reputation precedes them. They're from the original game, and even I definitely have that trepidation of like, I don't know what's around this corner, because there are a lot of areas where it looks different enough that you either don't recognize it straight away because it's sort of out of sequence, or even if it's in sequence, I don't remember exactly what room leads into what other room. I recognize rooms when I get to them sometimes, but I don't know what's happening a lot of the time. And even when you are in a location that you recognize and you know what should be happening here, it's not always it doesn't always pan out the way that it did originally, like they have done with previous remakes. So yeah, there's all sorts in there for old and new players.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to play it, but it's going to have to wait until like July. There's just too much happening at the
It'll
moment.
wait. It can wait.
May's
Yeah.
too busy. June's looking pretty busy now. So it's going to have to wait until July. Eventually, I will play that game.
It's great. It's really, really good. And I honestly didn't like it's unnerving, but I didn't find it as scary as I thought I did. And I don't think that's necessarily a knock against the game. I think it just proves how brave I am as a boy.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
biggest, bravest
The
boy.
bravest boy in
Considering
all
I
of
once got
showbiz.
nightmares from being eaten by zombies in Resident Evil 2 on PS1. I think I've come a long way as a
come a long way.
30-year-old man.
Yeah.
But I would say the scariest parts of the game are the bits where it goes to sort of traditional Resident Evil, where you're not in the village setting and the countryside setting, when you're sort of in there, because every Resi game does it, when you get to the lab bits.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
how's Umbrella involved in this?
Yeah.
When you get to those bits and it's dark and you've got a torch, and like I found those to be the scariest bits, as opposed to wandering around a village full of psychopaths who are trying to kill you. But yeah, brilliant game. Really, really liked it, and that will definitely be in the conversation, I think, at the end of the year for that goatee. Beyond that, I have beaten the Elite Four in Pokemon Gold. No big deal. Just the Pokemon League champion. So now I can go to Kanto if I want to. I will. And I've played a little bit more Golf Story on the Switch because I had a long car ride this past weekend. So that is all I've been playing. It's time for question 2.
It is. It comes from Cheska or Chesqua.
Chesqua.
Cheska.
Hey Bap, long time no see. Hope you're all well.
You too.
I've been playing Yakuza 0 and there are these cards of women
Women.
on them that are collectibles. My monkey brain sees a shiny, literal spark on the floor, picks a shiny, and then cringes and awkwardly looks around as the card is put away. My question, are there any questionable things in games you switch your brain off for?
Thank you, Cheska.
Thank you,
Cheska. Bakes things,
Yes.
Ashton. You never quite had I think it didn't quite cross over. Cheska used to be on our calls, our Discord calls that we did with the patrons.
Yes.
And Cheska would often have something have a bun in the oven, as it were.
Right.
And
A delicious baked good that made us all hungry.
Our first question would be, what's in the oven today, Cheska? And she would say, it's like an apple pie or,
brownies.
Whatever it is.
Something.
Brownies. Yeah.
Damn, Cheska.
Where have you been?
Goods?
Yeah. I couldn't think of anything in a kind of a sexy way that I switch off for, really, or a kind of cringy, inappropriate thing. Like, nothing came to mind, but I do sometimes switch off when stuff is just kind of gratuitous for the sake of it, almost. I found Trevor from GTA to just be like, I would just kind of. Yeah, I just kind of stare into space while he was doing anything or saying anything. And I think sometimes games, they just try a bit too hard to be edgy and like kind of, I don't know, like look how far we can push the envelope, but how far up to the line we can go. So yeah, even things like I was a bit. I don't know what the word would be, like almost maybe cynical is like the closest word about the groom in Outlast 2, no, Outlast 1, the DLC.
Yeah.
The one who chops your winky off.
Yes.
And to the point where like I kind of switched off and wanted to look away when he was being the way he was being, but not in a kind of, oh God, that's really gory and I don't want to, I don't want to see him like chop my winky off, my Wilson. I didn't really want to see that, but it was as much, Wilkins. But it was as much about just kind of thinking, all right, have they, like this seems like maybe they should have stopped a bit sooner before they got to this point. So, those are the times I usually kind of have to switch off. That's not to say that if I saw some kind of cringy sort of unnecessary nudity that I wouldn't also feel the same, but I just don't think I've not really played that many games that feature anything like that. Like I don't play Dead or Alive or something like that where maybe I would sort of kind of stare into space a little bit. Ashton, what about you?
So there's something that I've played recently and I can't figure out what game it was, and like looking back on what I've played, I literally can't pinpoint it, but there was a game where the female character just was like moaning or like groaning constantly from like strenuous activity. Like, I don't know, I can't figure out what it was. That's
triggered a memory of did we play this together?
I don't know. I'm curious whether we played something together, because I remember being like, oh my God, why are they moaning so much? Like, it's too much. I can't understand this. It sounds like I'm watching something I shouldn't be watching on the living room TV.
It sounds really familiar,
yeah,
but I can't place it. I
was like looking through all of my games and like trying to figure out what is it that I've played that has made me feel this way. And I cannot figure it out. I can't remember what it was. So, but anyway, that was making me really uncomfortable. And I kind of just had to turn the volume. I felt like I was just going to turn the volume down or just mute the game because it's just too much. Alternatively, the sex scene in The Last of Us 2. I was big uncomfy during that. I don't know what, just because like I felt like I shouldn't be in the room. Like I felt like I was invading someone's privacy, even though they're video game characters.
It did seem like a very private moment. Even
like with sex scenes in TV, we've talked about this before when we had a question about it, but even when there's like sex scenes in a TV show, I'm sometimes a bit like, ooh, I'll just look somewhere else because I feel like don't want to get involved in this. But that one specifically, I don't know what it was about it. I think it's just the angle and how close like to everything you were. I was a bit like, I'm just going to pretend this isn't happening. Just look away because it was uncomfortable. But that's one that came to mind almost immediately. I was like, don't really like that very much. And there's obviously all the ones where they'll be like, you can make your female character wear a bikini. And I'm always like, good, great, thanks so much.
You can be topless in the Saints Row game.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah. But it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Whenever it's like, oh, I can't remember. There was a game that came out recently and there was like, oh, and you can change her costume. And then every costume was like sexy nun, sexy waitress,
Right.
in lingerie. And I'm like, she's fighting a battle. Why has she got no clothes on?
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously a JRPG.
Of course
they
it was.
loved doing
Yeah.
that. But
They love that
It was
stuff.
a trailer for something. It might have been during the Game Awards or something. But there
Yeah,
was
it might have
one-
been. It's.
Yeah.
I think it was a trailer of some kind. That
Yeah.
one was from.
But I don't know what that game was.
It does make me think, though, Ashton. That reminds me of sort of the closest thing to a sexy example I can think of, other than I also agree about The Last of Us Part 2. But my favourite character in Soul Calibur is called Ivy. And I really like it because she has a kind of Castlevania, like, it's like a sword. It can go like, it can just be a sword, but then she can like make it segment and then it turns into like a flail, like a whip. She's got really long range and I just find her really fun to play. But she's also, because she's got this whip, she's stylized basically as a dominatrix, and she essentially just wears like two flipping napkins and a bit of ribbon. That's basically what she wears.
Yeah.
And I definitely have to. I don't even see it anymore because I'm so used to just playing her all the time because she's my like main character. But if anyone was to ever ask me who do you play as in Soul Calibur, I would probably be a bit like.
You have to apologize ahead of time.
Play as Ivy, yeah, and I would feel bad about if I was playing the game and, for example, my wife walked in. I would be like, "Look, it's because of she's got good range. That's why I'm playing it.
I'm just a fan of her weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just like the
exactly.
whip.
But I definitely I don't even choose to switch my brain off. I'm just like so used to it that I don't even see that anymore. And then sometimes I realize, oh my God, look at the character I'm playing as right now. What is she doing? And all the things she says as well are all like super suggestive. So yeah, that's one that I've just naturally switched off to because I've just become completely numb to it at this point.
Yeah. I think predominantly my sort of awkwardness comes from perhaps revisiting older games where the dialogue or the attitudes or the jokes, like the times have changed, obviously. And there's a lot of stuff in Time Splitters Future Perfect, for example, that was questionable then and is now really not very defensible at all. And things like that, like if, for example, I'm going back and playing that game with someone who's never played it before and showing it to them, saying, this is one of my favorite games. Much like the Ivy situation, I would feel like I have to almost explain and apologize my way through this video game because, you know, attitudes and society has moved on since then.
It's like when we play a worst games or a weirdest games. There's thing
always
of being
something like
oh,
what's gonna
I forgot these.
What highly regrettable design choice has been made in this game? There's always one.
There's always one.
So that's my main source for that stuff. I mean, the sex scene in The Last of Us Part 2 did feel like it came out of nowhere. It didn't. I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable with it because it just kind of happened. I mean, if I had a choice between it being there and it not being there, honestly, I don't really care either way. But certainly going back and playing older, I suppose most of my embarrassment comes from how others will perceive it as much. Like I know in my head when I'm, for example, playing Time Splitters Future Perfect and Sergeant Cortez is being completely inappropriate with Jo Beth Casey or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I know, hey, that's not okay. That's not aged very well at all. But it doesn't stop me from playing it necessarily. However, if someone else were in the room, I would feel the need to apologize. And it's almost like how it would be perceived as anything else.
Yeah.
Even though just playing the game doesn't mean that you tacitly endorse what is in it necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be the main thing for me. Older games.
It took me that long to even realize how inappropriate that specific joke was that I think you're referencing, Ben, with Jo Beth Casey, where like they're about to go down a ladder and they look down and there's this horrible like screaming noise because it's like the zombie level, and she looks at him and says, "You go first." And then it cuts to his face, and then it cuts to her waist, and she's wearing a really short skirt. And then it cuts back and he goes, "Okay." because he's going to be on a ladder and she's going to be above him with a skirt on. But when it cuts to her with her skirt, she just puts her hands on her hips and like drops her hip. And I, for the longest time, just thought that was a weird way to frame it. But like, it was basically just her being like, I'm not going to argue about this. And it was just her putting her hands on her hips. And then he goes, okay. So for years and years, I thought it was just this kind of a strange moment where she's like, you're going first. I'm not here to discuss this. And then I think it might have been when we were playing it for the first time, Ben, on stream, where I was suddenly like, holy crap, I've just realized what that terrible joke is. Yeah. So that's the other thing you have to be careful of with some of these things, where you're playing a game or you're a fan of something, and perhaps, because you were young at the time, you didn't even realize what some of these things were. And now if you go back and play something again for the first time in many years, you're like, oh right, okay, that happened.
Yeah. A lot of media ages horribly. That's just how it happens. It doesn't necessarily mean the game is bad, but you do have to accept that there are parts of it that don't necessarily hold up as well, or even ever did. So yes, when asking about awkward moments in games, I tend not to encounter those anymore, because I feel like I will be made aware of those moments before the game even releases. Like, the internet will already know and be very cross if anything approaching that is available. I mean, JRPGs have that kind of stuff all the time, though. Yeah. Like, it's baked into that genre, it seems, especially with Persona. In fact, there's another one. Just all Persona games. There's some weird stuff in that. Really weird stuff.
Also, the noises of JRPGs, which I'm not allowed to make anymore because you guys are weird about it.
For God's sake.
The like anime girl noises. Yeah. They're always a bit much for me.
Yeah. I'd be really keen to see like an anime or a JRPG localized without the inclusion of those noises, because I feel like so much of the design and the style of those games and that just media in general is that the characters always have to be making some kind of reaction noise. Yeah. And that's not how people are in real life. I think it would just be really weird. There'd just be silence for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we are. A surprisingly deep discussion there. It's time for something a little strange.
A little peculiar. It's time for weird news.
Oh. It's weird news time. Welcome to Weird News.
Why did you say it like that?
I don't know. It's because, I tell you why. It's because I completely lost my train of thought. I forgot what happens
next.
Your
brain just stopped
working.
Like,
what do I do? Maybe if I just extend saying weird news, I won't have to explain.
Put a funny voice on.
Yeah, and I'll distract them with my blinding comedy. And then, no, this is weird news. If you want to submit, that's the bit, isn't it, that comes next. If you want to submit weird news to us, you can go to Facebook and Twitter and respond to the relevant post that goes up on a Tuesday. However, if you want to guarantee a shout out at this point in the podcast, you need to go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at a certain tier and become a podcast producer, just like
Nathan,
GY Goliath,
Nexus Polaris,
Duncan Wilson,
Blake Thomas,
Ellie Nicholas,
Nicole Hansen,
Melody Elbonnet,
Katie Garrett,
and Gabrielle Philippink.
Thank you, podcast producers. Thank you. Peter, what weird news do you have got?
I've got weird news that loads of people sent to us. It was sent to us by @SnowyBoyYanio4 on Twitter, @ShinyAsh on Twitter, and then on Facebook by Janet Wicks and Justin Edison. So thank you, everyone who sent this.
Thank you.
I've got a write-up here from Kotaku.com, written by Luke Plunkett.
Hooray.
Yeah, the boy.
Nintendo hacker will be punished for the rest of his life.
That seems appropriate.
This is messed up. This whole thing is absolutely messed up.
Subheading, Gary Bowser, I forgot that was what it was called, is being released from prison for good behavior, but he'll still be paying for his crimes. So here we go. In February 2022, Gary Bowser, a member of the hacking operation team Executor, a longtime target of Nintendo's lawyers, was sentenced to 40 months in prison for his part in helping run a business that reportedly earned him over $300,000. Thanks to a combination of time already served and good behaviour while in prison, however, Bowser is about to be released and sent home to Canada. On the eve of his departure, he's currently waiting transport to Toronto with a new passport. Bowser sat down for an interview with Nick Moses 05, thanks Torrent Freak, it says in parentheses, to discuss the events surrounding his imprisonment and impending freedom. And then there's an embedded video where he has had an interview on Torrent Freak. As I said at the time of his sentencing, while Bowser was guilty of a crime and confessed to this in front of a court of law, I still think it's interesting to examine the details of his sentencing, which show the extent to which companies like Nintendo pursue these cases through the American legal system and the severity of the punishments handed out. While Bowser was convicted, served time in prison, and is about to be released, his punishment isn't over. In fact, he'll be paying for his crimes for the rest of his life because the damages he was ordered to pay Nintendo at the time of his sentencing, a total of $10 million, and then it says Bowser says an additional $4.5 million won't have to be paid back since he'll be in Canada, not the US, are so astronomical he'll likely never be able to make good on them.
Brilliant.
Bowser says Nintendo can take 25 to 30% of his monthly gross income for the rest of his working life. They began the process while he was in prison. Like many American inmates, Bowser was able to work jobs for what's essentially spare change while behind bars. And over the course of his time at the SeaTac Federation Detention Center in Washington, he was able to pay back $25 a month, adding up to a total of $175 of his $10 million.
Oh, no.
Well, American prison systems do use their prisoners as slave labor, so who's surprised by that?
How long was he in prison for? Does it say?
Was it? Hang on.
It was supposed to be 40 months, but he got out early. But
yeah, it was supposed to be. Well, so if he made 25, if he paid back $25 a month, and he was in there, and it added up to a total of 175, he was only in there for 7 months. Is that
okay?
Okay, seemingly. Finally, it says Bowser was one of 2 men arrested in connection with Team Executor. While commonly referred to as a hacker in media reports, he actually confessed to being the company's salesman and reportedly made $320,000 over 7 years of work. The other, French citizen Max Lauan, allegedly the leader of the operation, a role he denies, has managed so far to avoid deportation to the US to face charges, though it's believed he helped the company make millions over the course of its operation. So there you go. Even though Bowser himself only made, $320,000, he will be paying off a debt of $10 million for the rest of his life because apparently the company itself made millions.
I also didn't realize that he didn't hack Nintendo. They made hacking software so you can hack your Switch. That's what it was. I don't think they directly hacked Nintendo and released information. There wasn't that. They were just a bunch of people who were kind of hacking your Switch so you can play games on them that you haven't bought, that kind of thing. But I think it's absolutely insane that a company like Nintendo can take 25 to 30% of a regular man's salary, who is now a convicted criminal who will not be able to get that good of a job because of his criminal background for the rest of his life, and he'll never be able to pay that money back.
Yeah.
That's actually insane.
It's a difficult thing to... I don't think the punishment fits the crime.
No.
He did still do a crime, so he deserved to be punished, but that's such an astronomical number. It's almost a joke. It's the equivalent of pirates being put in cages and hung outside ports back in the olden days, and just left to hang there as a warning. Don't you be doing naughty things to Nintendo, or we'll take 25% of your salary until you die.
They're clearly making an example out of him, but poor Bowser, so misunderstood.
Yeah.
But I just think it's terrible. I don't know how. They didn't obviously. I don't believe that they were you've done $10 million worth of damage.
No.
I don't believe that that's the case.
Well, they have better lawyers than he did.
So they obviously have better lawyers than him. But man, I just think it's terrible.
The 10 million is almost irrelevant at this point. If they'd not even mentioned the 10 million damages and said your sentence is that whatever you earn for the rest of your life, 30% of it is going to Nintendo. Like, you're not even working towards a 10 million target. It wouldn't have made any difference because he's never going to get there. So what they've basically said is you have to just give your 30% of your paycheck to them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And yeah, technically you're working towards 10 million, but no. So he's got to hope he has some sort of massive lottery win or something, and then he can just pay it off. So that's terrible, though. It's like wild that that's happened.
It is bad. Do you reckon there have been any news articles that have had the subtitle "So long, Gary Bowser"?
Well, that was the first thing that came into my mind as well. So long, Gary Bowser.
I hope that.
I reckon when he probably got sentenced, I reckon there was quite a lot of those.
Maybe. I'm glad he's going home at least. That's something. So
at least he gets to work off his $10 million at home.
What does he do now?
Get a very well-paying job.
Yeah, good luck.
I have some weird news. It was submitted by Danny Haney, and a different article about the same story was submitted by Johnny Mac on Twitter. It's from The Gamer, written by Rhiannon Bevan. Kind of a cool name, lots of N's.
Yes, Ashton.
Everyone is thirsting over Tears of the Kingdom's Ganondorf.
Stop it.
Oh no, he's hot.
Stop it.
It's official. Ganondorf is back, and he's hot now.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, for some of us freaks, he was always hot, but like really hot now. From the buff chest to the long flowing hair, Zelda fans can't get over Ganon's new look. Ever since it was revealed, the Tears of the Kingdom conversation has been dominated by stupid, sexy Ganon, stealing the show from Link in his own game. True villain behaviour. Looking back at his previous looks, it's safe to say he's got a bit of a glow up. He's had a bit of a glow up for Tears of the Kingdom. Gone are the cartoonish proportions and supervillain attire, replaced with, well, not a whole lot. He's literally shirtless now. You can't tell me that Nintendo didn't know what they were doing. It knows how feral fans can get. Personally, I have to say the best edition has got to be the man bun. I'm sorry, I know they were frowned upon even when they were in style, but it just suits this new Ganon look so well. Plus, it keeps the hair out of his face while he probably makes Zelda and Link's life absolute hell. If our first look at buff Ganondorf was enough to make you fall in love, you're far from alone. All you have to do is search his name on Twitter to find fans who can't get over his new makeover. Of course, that means there is also a whole lot of fan art already. No one ever said Nintendo fans aren't dedicated. Just be careful if you don't have adult filters on. I've seen more Ganon than I bargained for today.
Oh,
yeah.
It has to be said that thirsty Nintendo fans have been eating, or drinking to keep the metaphor, good lately. Just recently, they found themselves weirdly attracted to Luigi in the Mario movie. They reckon he whimpers, which is apparently how all the cool kids are saying that they find someone hot nowadays.
Oh my God.
Oh, and they also ship him with Bowser, which isn't surprising given the kind of scenes they shared in the movie. Real Beauty and the Beast vibes there, albeit a lot more threatening. Also, Bowser never stops being the Beast. Maybe fans prefer it that way. So yeah, everyone thinks Ganondorf's hot. And people are drawing pictures of his winky on Twitter.
What's wrong with you?
Oh, dear.
What's wrong with you all?
Yeah.
Awful. My weird news comes courtesy of Michael Milan at Lord of Penguins on Twitter. This is from Kotaku and Isaiah Colbert. The Red Cross challenged gamers to not commit war crimes. Here we go. The International Committee of the Red Cross has partnered up with a bunch of Twitch streamers to encourage gamers to not commit war crimes in popular shooters like Call of Duty. The ICRC hopes that its event, Play by the Rules, will educate players on the statutes of actual war. The organization has even created its own Fortnite mode to help communicate what those rules are. Go away, auto-playing video. Every day, people play games in conflict zones right from their couch, but right now, armed conflicts are more prevalent than ever, the ICRC website said. And to the people suffering from their effects, this conflict is not a game. It destroys lives and leaves communities devastated. Therefore, we're challenging you to play FPS by the real rules of war to show everyone that even wars have rules. Rules which protect humanity on battlefields IRL. As part of the event...
Does that mean I can't use my unicorn glider in war?
I think that's allowed.
Illegal?
I've got the rules. I'll give you the rules in a second.
Cool.
It doesn't say no unicorn
No
gliders.
giant hammers that you can knock down houses with.
Yeah.
No bus on hot air balloons.
Yeah, no bus on hot air balloons.
Exactly. Well,
No Pickle Rick.
it doesn't say. Well, no pickle Rick should be part
Should
of the
be
war
one of
crime.
That is a war crime,
But
yeah.
it's not part of their rules. As part of the event on the ICRC's official Twitch channel, streamers have played a number of games while adhering or attempting to adhere to the laws of conflict, including PUBG, Battlegrounds, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Rainbow Six Siege, and Escape from Tarkov. In addition to the Play by the Rules event, the ICRC created its own Fortnite mode. You've already said that. For those curious, the official rules of war for ICRC's Play by the Rules event, which have been streamlined to account for video game mechanics, are, number one, no thirsting. Now, when you say no thirsting,
It's not-
it sounds
you
like
see
it
a picture
refers
of
to
Ganondorf.
your story.
Yeah.
But it's not. It explains that don't shoot downed/unresponsive enemies.
Is that called thirsting?
I don't know how, but yes, that's what
They need
that's
to
what it
change
says.
that name.
No thirsting. Number two, no targeting non-violent NPCs.
So, for example,
Right.
if you're playing Resident Evil 4 and there's a nice old lady sweeping
Just
up
sweeping
after her
out
chicken,
around
how
her
about
house.
don't stab her in the back of the head
Yes, until she becomes violent.
until she becomes violent?
Number three, no targeting civilian buildings. So you can't knock down any houses.
No.
You can't be doing that. And
Right.
number four, and I think this is the most interesting one actually from a purely gameplay perspective, use medkits on everyone.
including
Ah,
the enemy.
yeah.
Yes. Because you've got to, if someone's injured, you've
Because
got to...
they are people.
They are
after
people
all.
and you have to help them, even if you then imprison them afterwards. You can't
So they're
just-
trying to get gamers to play by those rules.
Yes, they are. Good luck.
I think the only ones that you really need to do are the don't shoot downed enemies
Mm.
and use medkits on everyone, because most of those games don't have civilians.
Rainbow
in.
Six Siege must be a difficult one in terms of not blowing up walls and things. You've just got
Yeah,
to open
'cause that's
every
kind
door.
of what-
You've just
yeah.
got to knock politely on every door.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Hello, may I come in?
it's a PR thing, obviously,
Yeah.
and it's to spread awareness.
It is
I
interesting,
don't
though.
think anyone can practically play the games by these means, or that playing the games by these means that you are disrespecting people in actual war zones.
Mm.
But in terms of raising awareness, it's interesting.
I'm surprised one of the rules
Yeah.
isn't don't blindly throw a grenade into a room full of people.
Joke's on you. I'm
Shepherds.
going to do that more now.
Yeah.
So there we are.
One time I did actually,
Throw a
I
grenade,
have a
what?
reputation, and I am Ashton War Crimes Matthews.
In
because
games, okay.
One time I walked into a room full of shepherds and I shot a shepherd.
You did
straight
shot a
in his
shepherd
face.
because he didn't speak the same language as you?
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
tried to use a med kit, but actually what I did was I suffocated a man.
You
to
smothered a
death.
man, yes, and he
Yeah.
died. In the same stream as well. It was really
Yeah,
impressive.
it's really impressive,
Quick
huh?
succession. Well, that's weird news. Thank you for submitting your weird news. Remember, Tuesdays, if you want to send us weird news to be included on this podcast. It's time for question 3.
It is. This is sent by Stephen Donovan, who says, "Hi, Bap. On the same day Nintendo announced their final trailer for the new Zelda game, and Sony announced a state of play for Final Fantasy XVI, Microsoft announced that Redfall, the exclusive FPS shooter, would launch without a performance/60 FPS mode.
FPS,
Saying it
first
would
person
launch-
shooter.
Yes. Saying it would launch later on with an offline mode. How much does this make? How much does this play into your decision to play a game or not? And how has Microsoft's and Arcane's poor communication around this title hindered the hype for this game? E.g., they have continually shown Redfall in a 60 FPS mode in marketing.
They have said that it's only 30 FPS on consoles. So it might be that if you're playing on PC, it does run at 60 FPS. But they've not said that. They just haven't. They haven't not said it. You know.
Yeah. Well, I've got a write-up here from IGN. Bethesda has revealed that Redfall will be launching on Xbox consoles capped at 30 FPS quality mode, and that a 60 FPS performance mode will come to the game at a later date. Bethesda didn't specify when it will add 60 FPS performance mode, but it's definitely coming after launch. It's also unclear why performance mode won't be available right away. It's got the embedded tweet, which says Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Series X will be 4K 30 FPS. Series S will be 1440p 30 FPS. And then it says 60 FPS performance mode will be added via game update at a later date. The article continues, Redfall also received backlash from fans recently after Bethesda revealed it would also launch with an always online requirement. However, Arcane said it's working on a solution to reverse the decision. So, yeah. And on top of that as well, director Harvey Smith also said a PS5 version of Redfall was in development before Microsoft merged with Bethesda, But then Microsoft came in and wanted the team to prioritize Xbox and PC platforms. So it's been a bit of a bad series of news releases for Redfall, given that a lot of people were very excited about it already. I personally wasn't super hyped. I mean, for one thing, I don't have an Xbox console at the moment. I do have a PC, but I don't tend to play on PC if I can help it. So it wasn't going to be easily accessible for me in terms of hardware anyway. But I was also not quite sure. I like Arcane and what they do, broadly speaking, but when I've watched this, I see the plus points, but also I don't quite understand. It still has a little feeling of, I don't want to say live servicey aspect to it, but it just feels less focused. And I like Arcane's single player, interesting narrative campaigns and stuff, and this looks a little bit more open and free in a way that I'm not necessarily a fan of. So I was already not super hyped, but then I don't think it's a good look to. I mean, according to Stephen, the question asker, they have apparently been showing the game in 60 FPS mode in marketing. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I trust that it probably is. So that's not a great look to actually be marketing a game as one thing that is not necessarily going to be available from the get-go. And the always online DRM is always a terrible thing. And I think that's there's an argument to say, well, if 60 FPS mode is coming later on, all right, we'll see how it goes. But I don't think there's any justification for an always online game, really. So to me, it certainly made me less interested. I wasn't super interested to begin with, but I'll be keen to see how they address this, because as I say in that article, it says Arcane are looking to address the always online thing, and we might get some clarification on the 60 FPS as well before release and when we can expect that. So yeah, there's more to learn about this, I think, before decisions can be made.
I agree. I think that it's not unusual for things to be added later on, and I do think that people are kind of losing their minds a little bit about the fact that it's not in 60 FPS. I know that I'm pretty easygoing, and I don't really notice when something's in 60 FPS most of the time. But I understand that some people can't play a game with 30 FPS anymore because they're too spoiled by 60 FPS. 30 frames per second, get out of here.
I can't do it anymore. Yeah. It's really obvious to me now, and I used to just not care. Yeah. But now I've been given a taste. Mm-hmm. Now I've been allowed to drink the golden 60 FPS elixir, especially as I played God of War and Horizon Forbidden West in 30 for a while before noticing this doesn't even run very well. And then I ticked it up into 60. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Such a difference. I do think it makes a difference, but I also think that for the vast majority of gamers and this is the case with a lot of these situations where people are being so outraged by something, is that the vast majority of gamers, they're not going to realize, they're not going to be following on Twitter. I hadn't seen this information. I'm quite interested in playing Redfall because I like a co-op kind of game to play, and I was quite interested in Redfall. I hadn't heard any of this. It's just somehow would pass me by because there's so much discourse about so many games all the time that it passed me by, and it's my job to know what's happening with games. So part of me is people aren't going to have seen this information because there's just so much info, or it may not matter to them, in which case, brilliant, good for them. But I do think that there is a lot of always online is definitely the one that's the issue for me more than the frames per second situation, because I don't understand why they can't. Why it's not an easy way to just turn that off. I've never made a game, so I don't claim to know how easy or hard it is. But the part of me that doesn't understand, it's but why can't we just make it offline? Can't we just take a button? Why is it so difficult? The other games manage it, so why can't they? So that is, kind of a bummer.
But I don't know how much that's going to actually affect the game, and whether, if you're playing on your own anyway, whether that's going to make a big difference. It's coming to Game Pass, which I think maybe will be its saving grace, because people won't necessarily go out of their way to buy it, but they might play it on Game Pass if it comes up and they've got Game Pass. Again, we don't know how it's going to run on PCs. They've not specified. They've just talked about consoles. So maybe it'll be 60 FPS on PC, and they can be like, well, in the marketing, actually, we used a PC. We didn't use a console. We never said we used a console, so that's on you. But I do think that it is interesting that they chose to focus on making it good for Xbox and PCs, and then couldn't make it into 60 FPS for people. I do think it's one of those things that games do a lot at the moment, where it's like, oh, yeah, this is what was going to happen, and then they tell little tiny lies that come out a few weeks before that they can get away with, because they know that the general gamer isn't necessarily going to see that information. So I do think that it is a little bit sus of them. I hope the game's good, and I think Game Pass is going to be its saving grace. People will play it on Game Pass more than I think they will buy it, which part of me is like, maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they were like, hey, we should put this out on Game Pass because I don't think it's going to sell very well, so let's put it on there. Because Minecraft Legends has come out and people aren't loving it as the way that they kind of were like, you're going to love this game, people. And people are like, hey, this isn't as good as you told me it was going to be. And again, that's gone on Game Pass. So part of me is like, I'm now sus of the Game Pass releases. If they're just going to keep like, it's not going to sell well, so we'll just give it to you for free. You want that? And I mean, hey, keep giving me games for free, in quote marks, because I still pay the subscription. But I don't want them to start just being like, well, we can get away with it because we're technically giving it out day one for free. So I'll probably play it, and maybe it'll be bad, but I have my fingers crossed that it'll be a fun co-op game to play with my friends.
I think it'll be good, and I'm not hugely fussed by this game, and I haven't been the entire time they've been showing it. I would like to try it, but normally I love a co-op game, but one of the other sticking points for a lot of people recently, which is part of the problem, because regardless of how you feel about this game and how excited you are, it has just been a series of unfortunate PR disasters, one after another. One of them is that you only make progress in the host's world.
Hate that.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
So that's going to be a real sticking point for people who are playing in co-op.
Far Cry did that. Saints Row did that. Hate that. It's silly,
and it shouldn't be like that. The 60 frames thing, yes, that is very misleading, because if they've been advertising it that way, then it should be 60 frames. And also, when is this new generation actually going to start if half the big games aren't even supporting 60 FPS? Because while some people may not notice it or be that fussed by it, Gotham Knights not having 60 frames per second still is shocking. That should just be a requirement of this generation at this point. Like, as a minimum, games should run at 60 frames per second, especially a big first-party game like Redfall should be 60 frames per second. Outside of the fact that they misled people.
So it's not that they're like, oh, well, only one of the hardware systems we're making the game for works on 60 FPS. They're like, oh, only PC can run a 60 FPS game, so it's not our focus. But they've made the hardware. Every single piece of equipment out there, except the Nintendo Switch, can handle running something at 60 frames per second. So there is no excuse that this is not like a normalcy in gaming.
Yeah. I would be astonished if a first-party game came out and didn't support 60 frames. Like that just feels like the easiest home run to score. Like, it runs great on the exclusive console that it's released for, and yes, I know it's on PC as well. I really like Arcane. I loved Dishonored, or Dishonored as we call it in the UK, because there's no U in there, and their other game, Deathloop, thank you. The name always escapes me. I think they're a phenomenal studio, and I do love co-op games, but the prospect of having to either play through the entire thing with my co-op partners and then being at the mercy of people's availability because no one's going to be able to make any progress on their own, or just play it by myself, which apparently you can do, and the experience will let you do that, but I doubt you will get the full experience.
Yeah.
There will be parts where you feel like this is clearly a co-op game and I'm just playing it by myself. It's like when you play Borderlands by yourself. You can do it, but you're not going to get as much out of it. You're just not going to. I think this game will be good. I think it'll get good review scores, but it has been just like one blunder after another. And whether that's because they are making mistakes or just the messaging is completely wrong, I feel like they need, before it comes out, some big blowout showcase to like really get the core audience back on board, because I feel like a lot of people have been alienated, even if, as you say, it's on Game Pass, so people aren't necessarily going to have to spend money on it. But if you want to retain that player base, vaguely promising you'll fix Always Online after the fact, it might be too late. You may lose that audience by then. You need to come out the gates as strong as you can, and it doesn't sound like they're going to, and I think that's a real shame. And I'm not mad, but I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah. I also think that, and this is going to be like, oh, you just love Sony so much. I just think that if Sony produced a game and it was one of their first party titles that they were like advertising to come out, and they said Sony coming out in 30 FPS, people would be flipping raging. And you'd get all of the Xbox boys being like, your console's so rubbish. But I feel like I just don't think anyone's talking about this. I don't know why it's just passed me by completely, but I feel like no one's really talking about it, and no one's like actively upset about it on Twitter, which I feel like if it was a PlayStation thing, I would have known about this the second it happened, because everyone would have been talking about how Sony are the weaker of the two, and it would have been like a big deal. But I just think maybe Xbox aren't. I haven't really seen them even advertising Redfall. They advertised it loads and loads and loads when they first announced it, but I haven't seen a single advert for Redfall since like this month, and it's coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah, console tribalism is the worst. It's tedious and boring and frustrating, and I'm so tired of it. Just play where you want to play, that's fine, and have your preference. Have your own proclivities, it's okay. But perhaps, I mean, I have seen discourse about it, and I've certainly heard a lot of discourse about it. It's definitely being covered, these mishaps. But perhaps the fact that you're not seeing it perhaps belies the truth that maybe there isn't that much excitement for Redfall.
Yeah.
Which again is a shame, because that studio's flipping great.
Yeah, because I agree that I've not seen it advertised that much since kind of the earlier days when, I remember, I think the first time we saw it, it was more ambiguous as to what it actually was. And that's when it did feel more like, again, as I mentioned live service earlier, like I know it's obviously not a live service game, but that sense of like a kind of a big open world and like, randomly generated missions and you just go with your squad to this building and this building. That's what I kind of thought it looked like at first. And I believe like they've clarified since then that it is more focused than that, but I still have that feeling in me that like I still remember that sense from when it was first revealed, because I'm not seeing enough of it now with this like later clarification saying, oh no, here's what this game is. So it would help them, even as far as I'm concerned anyway, it would help them even just to get more eyes on the game and like make it clear what this thing is, and that might at least drum up a bit more interest to kind of drown out some of the kind of discourse about these other issues, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, we've pissed all over Xbox. Are you ready to piss all over Nintendo? Let's go. We're not going to do it. Oh, Billy, I'm sorry. I just knocked him over. Hang on, Billy. Oh. Sorry. I'm being facetious, of course. I hope Redfall's great. We all do.
Yes.
But this is really unfortunate, and fingers crossed it's good. It's time for the big discussion.
Oh.
It's big discussion time for the big discussion, which this week comes courtesy of Pup George. And Pup George says, what did you make of Nintendo's Indie World presentation? Peter, overall, what were your thoughts?
I mean, lots of pretty things and calming things and nice things. Lots of cats. Lots of sort of food and baking and, sort of charming worlds. So that's all very nice. I don't tend to play indie games really, so there probably wasn't anything for me as such. There are a few things that I thought, oh, that looks nice. I would play that. And I just know that I won't because I've got too much else to play. So that's probably the closest I came, is like seeing some stuff where I thought, oh yeah, that looks good. And that's something I would enjoy. But whether I would have the time, I don't know. Play Up, though, is probably one we could do on stream at one point. We'll get to that.
I'm a big Play Up stan, so I would love to play Up on stream. I think that's a great game. I've talked about it before, and I do think it's a pretty fantastic game, Play Up.
Yeah. But what do you guys think?
I really like the look of. So there was a bunch. I don't know if we want to go through them like one by one and
we can do that.
So
I think we will do. Yeah.
It kicked off. I liked the whole show. I think it was nice and quick. The American hosts were very, very American and very, very excited about everything that was happening.
They all spoke in exactly the same inflection,
Yeah,
in a very clear to understand for people who don't speak very good English.
This looks amazing.
Yes, there's a lot.
It's going to be a great game, and I love that. I loved it. I felt like they were really bringing up the mood.
It's
on
like a
this
TikTok
Thursday.
robot was hosting the show.
POV, a big indie game is coming out next week.
Pav, you've just got your own restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. But we started off with Minako's Night Market. Or
Yes.
I think Minako's is how you say it.
Mineco.
Yeah.
Mineco's, which is kind of like a side scrollery pretty game that's basically like go and get a bunch of stuff, come back, sell it at the market. And one thing they kept talking about was cat racing.
Yeah.
And you could race on a cat, not just like set cats off to race against one another. Ride upon a cat and race against other people riding upon.
It's all about the night market,
Yeah.
Ashton. All about the night market. You go all over this island, or not in an almost sort of cheer kind of way. And anything you find on the island, you can then take to the night market to sell. There's all sorts of crafts you can do in game to make stuff out of the things. I'm not talking like crafting an axe or anything, like actual sewing and things like that to make arts and crafts to take to this night market. There was a big cat in the olden times, I think, was the implication, like a big god cat that they loved, but then also were scared of.
Yes.
And they scared the cat away. And there's all sorts of secrets to discover on this island and things to do at the night market, like riding cats and parades was another one.
Yeah,
You can
parades.
Take part in parades.
Be part of parades.
Yeah.
The art style was really pretty.
And then at the end, just sort of out of nowhere, it said like, "But watch out for agents." And then there were like these
Sometimes
men
there
in
might
black
be
chasing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked really lovely.
Yeah.
Much like you guys said, I think the whole presentation was a visual treat. Like it was, there were so many beautiful games here.
Yeah.
It's really nice to like know what's coming out, and a lot of these developers are really small studios, and a lot of them are kind of international studios. There was quite a lot of like Scandi countries and Eastern European countries that were like represented by the
Full of
people.
uncomfortable Europeans, this
Yes,
show, I would
basically
say.
so full of uncomfortable Europeans. It was great. One point, some guy was in a river splashing around with some ducks.
That was Donkey
That
just
was
trying
great.
to be funny, I think.
Yeah.
It didn't really work
It
for
was
me.
weird.
He was trying a bit hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really like that either.
But yeah, I thought that looked really cute. I think the visual style is kind of similar to that. Oh my god, that game where you play as a cat and it's about depression.
Oh my god.
Oh,
yeah. Night in the Woods.
Night in the Woods, kind of like a little bit kind of 2D, almost like it's made of paper kind of style, and that looked really nice.
Yeah.
So
Painterly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's out on Switch on the 26th of September. I've got it all in front of me.
a few of them are like out now. So
Yeah. And a few of them I like the look of that are out now. And
Yeah.
a part of me's thinking, is it on PlayStation as well? Because I don't know that when I play it on my Switch.
There was also My Time at Sandrock, which is a sequel to My Time at Portia, which is the kind of like crafting village Animal Crossing type game.
Resources, farming,
yeah.
building, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
And it's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
I quite like My Time at Portia. Very visually bright, My Time at Sandrock looked. My favourite phrase was uttered, post-apocalyptic town. Love that. Yes,
Yeah, it didn't really look
thanks.
like post-apocalyptic.
No, it
town,
didn't.
did it?
No.
It just
No.
looked like a slightly run-down settlement.
Yeah, exactly. And you can water plants. You can build up your workshop. There was like a whack-a-mole mini game at one point.
You probably have. I think the implication is that two characters are getting married as well at some
Yeah.
points. It's very Stardew in that sense as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvest Moon kind of thing.
But it looks
It looked nice. It was very sunny. And
Yeah.
just it looked like it was a really nice day that they were having.
It did, yeah.
this is coming on. It's coming this summer. Quote on Switch.
Okay, I'll time it.
Hopefully on other stuff as well.
And Plate Up.
Yep.
You're the Stan.
Big fan.
That looked pretty fun. That's the first time I've seen Plate Up.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good fun. And I mean, I've been playing it on PC, and you can play online or local. So I don't know whether you're able to do cross-platform. I don't see a reason why not. But it's a Yogscast Games game.
It is. For clarification, Peter and I are still technically part of the Yogscast network, but we have no idea what this game is and have never played it, and stand to earn no money from promoting it. There we are.
No, not
Advertisers Standards Agency. Are you happy? Did we do it right?
I'm not affiliated with Yogscast. I have played it, and I think it's great. And I think it's a really good, fun party game for up to 4 players. And I played it with Alex and Ciaran recently, and we had a lovely time. And you can name your restaurants, and 8 out of 10 times, we'll make it a dirty name.
Brilliant. That's what you want.
Nice.
What's the next one, Peter?
Well, I was going to say, just for those who don't know, Plate Up it's like Overcooked, but you've got the front of house to deal with as well. So not only are you in the kitchen running around like mad, but you then have to bring stuff out.
And it's a
tables.
roguelike, and you've got to be tactical about what you save and put down. Good
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to play it on stream.
Coming to Switch this October. We also had Quilts and Cats of Calico. I'm actually reading the article I've got. I'm not looking at the document, so I hope they're
Based on
lined
the
up.
board
Yes, they
game?
are. Yeah, based on the board game. So this, I mean, is pretty much exactly what it says, which is that you build quilts by putting little hexagons together, little patches, and different cats will like different patterns, and you can attach buttons to the patches. I'm not even aware of the board game, let alone the video game. Ashton, have you played the board game before?
I've not played it, but I've seen it played. And essentially your cards will give you like, to get this cat, you need to make this pattern on the board. But obviously everyone's trying to do their own patterns. So you have to try and get yours together while everyone else is also doing the same thing.
Do real cats come when you play the board game?
No,
Oh, okay.
unless you own cats.
Right. In
My
which
cats
case
would probably
they
come
can't
and
not.
sit on the board. But in the game, there's like, you can customize your cats. You can give them a little hat if you want to give your cat a little hat, which is pretty cute. And it's just like a cozy game to play with some pals if you want to play a board game but are in different places.
Yeah.
It's local or online multiplayer, and it's coming out in autumn on Switch.
Autumn. Fall.
Yes, exactly.
Coming in
Fall.
fall.
Rift of the Necro Dancer, which I am assuming is part of the series of all sorts of Necro Dancer related things that have come out previously.
I thought this game was already out. I thought Rift of the Necro Dancer was...
Is it Crypt of the Necro
maybe
Dancer?
Crypt is the other one.
There's a few.
Crypt is out,
They said it was a spin-off. So
A few, maybe? I don't know.
because I was like, oh, Rift of the Necro Dancer. I think my brain auto-corrected Crypt of the Necro Dancer to be the same. But apparently it's a spin-off. It's a rhythm-based action game.
Yes, it has lanes, which it hasn't had before apparently, and it seems that there are 5 characters with different storylines. If the lady who was doing the narration is to be believed, she said that if it's all a bit intense, you can go do a mini game with one of the 5 different characters. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you got 5 different characters. I have no idea what the setting is because she seemed to be a rock star. Maybe she was holding a guitar.
They were fighting monsters.
I'm not really sure what's going on. It looked great.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll have great music as well.
I think it is quite a big departure from Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is the original game. Crypt of the Necrodancer is more like an early Zelda game, but you just have to move around the dungeon in time to the beat. Whereas this is more like Guitar Hero, in that you've got, as you say, you've got those lanes and you've got enemies moving around on those. But yeah, Crypt is kind of a top-down sort of, I wouldn't say isometric, but yeah, it's like an early Zelda game. So this is pretty different to the first game.
I also like the making a burger in tune to the music. That was good.
Yes,
they was like do some yoga in time with the music, and also make a burger.
That's why I was a bit confused about like what the setting is of this game. Like, it's kind of all over
that was a
the
bit
place,
weird. The yoga.
Yeah,
don't know what's going on.
That's out later this year.
Oh, is it?
Lovely.
Next one was Animal Well, which was the one with the guy in the river.
Yes.
Which is like a dungeon, like we're using the word labyrinth a lot, where you play as like this little blob. And you have to get... It was a blob.
Was it a blob?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to get through kind of like dungeons that are filled with enemies, and it's all 2D and pixel, and it makes that, oh my God, my favorite noise in games. They're like, do a pixel jump sound where you're like, I can't even explain it, but I love it. I love the noise when they do little jumps in pixel games. Not all of them, and I love them.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right, Peter? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't remember the sound that it made, but
kind of.
I know the
noise.
I know the noise that a lot
noise,
of
but...
characters make when they jump.
Yeah.
I just like the way it jumped through some vines at one
Yeah,
point.
like
There was
the
all this
vines,
like
those
moss
were
hanging
cool.
down, and it had physics to it, which was nice.
Yeah. It seems that you can sort of go anywhere and you're just on the hunt for treasure. You're not necessarily going in a specific direction. You're kind of spelunking in a way. Just wandering about. Look pretty
Very
cool.
moody. Yeah, it's out this winter on Switch.
Lovely.
Up next, I misread this and thought it was called Crime Cock, but it wasn't.
Classic.
This is Bad Seed's Crime O'Clock. It's a time-traveling point-and-click style escapade, says Eurogamer, where you have these sort of... A lot of it looked black and white, but there were little splashes of colour here and there. You sort of go through different scenes. They almost look a bit like Where's Wally scenes, these sort of isometric, hand-drawn things. There's the different ages, they're called. There's like the Steam Age and Atlantean Age, sort of ancient Egyptian and stuff. And by changing things in those different ages, you do like a butterfly effect. And by traveling through time and making changes to the scenes, you will have effects on the future. So it's sort of you're solving cases and hunting for clues. So it's that sort of mystery solving thing. But it's a kind of a point and click puzzler, really, top down.
This one
coming
was
in June.
most interesting to me. This one was the one that I was like, "Ooh, this looks interesting."
Really? I didn't really like that.
I was intrigued by it. I was like, I don't understand how it plays, but there were like 40 different crimes to solve, and I'm like, love solving crimes. Love that.
I'm with you, Ben. Like I think I would have actually. I think it's literally just that it's black and white that I didn't like about it, though. Is that like I looked at this and I thought I don't like this, and I thought why don't I like it? Because it's an interesting idea, and actually the actual art style, the drawing itself, I think is quite nice. It's quaint, but I just want to see a whole spectrum of color on that. I want it to look like a Where's Wally scene. I don't want it to look.
Right.
I just don't understand why it's black and white. It seems a strange thing to do.
They said puzzles, and then my brain just melted out of my
said,
ear.
"No, thanks."
I'm like,
Right.
oh god. And also just the way it was presented. I think the idea of having to do puzzles and hop between different time periods and work out what's affecting what. It's like it sounds like work. It sounds like I'm going to have to go and do work. Like it feels like school.
That one's also coming to PC, and I think from the way it looks like it plays, I'd much rather play it on PC than Switch.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. We've also got Tesla Grad 2, which looks bloody lovely as a follow-up to the original Tesla Grad, or Tesla A Grad, which is not how it's pronounced. You can harness electromagnetic powers to solve physics puzzles, and I love how this looks. It's influenced by Nordic culture and folk tunes, so the soundtrack and the kind of things you're encountering look very, very fun as well. And Peter, I'm sure you can back me up here. I think it's available right now alongside the first one remastered.
Yeah.
They're available to purchase separately on Switch's eShop or as a 2-game bundle. Launches today on Switch and is joined by an enhanced Tesla Grad Remastered. Yes, correct.
Excellent. It looked really cool. I'd never really paid much attention to the first game, but I really liked how this one looked. And then they said it's available now, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I want to give that a go. Does it have puzzles in it? Yes. Are they scary puzzles, like ones I have to use my brain with? Possibly. So maybe not. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of work.
This next one reminded me of a mini clip game I used to play on my computer, where you were a sniper and you had to find who your enemy was because they were like, they're wearing a hat. It's called Shadows Over Loathing, and
This looks brilliant.
RPG, but it's all stickmen. And there was all kind of various situations, and it's all a bit weird and wacky, but they're pretty fun.
It's definitely sort of a comedy game, isn't it? Like it's knowingly being very daft, and it's set in the 1920s within its universe. Sort of looks like a turn-based RPG, but with lots of really surreal, strange characters. It actually reminded me a lot of the South Park games, the Stick of Truth and stuff, in terms of its not in terms of its presentation, but in terms of how it played and the fact that it plays with conventional side-scrolling turn-based RPG tropes and just sort of mocks them and has a lot of fun. I really like the look of this. I thought this looked really silly, but I think I'll have to check some reviews just to see if it's the right kind of silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does remind me of, I mean, Ashton, you say like a mini clip Flash game. Like it's got that kind of vibe to it. And it's also just that kind of humor. It just reminds me of various things from like the mid-noughties with this kind of silly... I agree with you, Ben, that it's worth seeing how this actually is received, because I think when a developer goes for this style of humor, there is actually a fine line between, oh, this is funny and it's like it's self-aware and it's being daft, versus it's a bit sort of lol random. Oh, we're so silly. I'm a cheese wizard, maybe playing as a cheese wizard is actually funny and they've done it in a kind of thoughtful way, or maybe it's just lol cheese. So it could veer slightly too far into just silly for silly's sake, but it does look good. I'm going to keep an eye on it.
Sorry.
All three of us went for it at the same time. Go on, Peter.
You go, Peter.
Blasphemous 2. So was this the one? Hang on, let me just skip through this. Yes, it was. This looked very Castlevania inspired, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if at any point they said that it's a Metroidvania game, but I have to imagine that it probably is. So it's from the Game Kitchen. They announced this 18 months ago, apparently. It's a sequel to the first game, Blasphemous. And it says here, according to Eurogamer, that Blasphemous 2 sees the return of its predecessor's pointy-hatted protagonist, the Penitent One, for more Souls-esque Metroidvania action, bolstered this time by the likes of distinctive new weapons. It's coming to Switch this summer. So, based off the old one, this seemingly is a Metroidvania and Souls-esque game as well, apparently. I hadn't heard of... Well, I think I might have literally just heard the name, Blasphemous, the old one, but I know absolutely nothing about it. So, I definitely got Metroidvania from the art style, but it wasn't necessarily specified in the trailer that was the genre. But seemingly that is actually what, there's going to be some backtracking and looping paths and things like that.
Yeah. Every time you're saying Blasphemous 2, all I'm hearing is The Last of Us 2, but just said with said with a very strange accent.
Yeah.
I don't really remember anything about this game.
It had a very particular pixel art style that I really liked.
Very gothic.
It strikes me as a game that's going to be very hard, and for that reason alone, I may not actually be that interested. But I did like what I saw. I thought it looked really cool, at least. But for me, the most important one
excited about this.
Is Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals, which I've been looking forward to for ages. What's the name of the studio, Peter? Do you have access to that there?
Night School Studio.
They are so good. I loved Oxenfree 1, and also After Party was excellent too. And this one is looking great. I'm a little bit sad, but I suppose it makes sense that they're returning to the same island that you went to in the first game. I imagine you go to different locations within that same island, but you're returning to the island as the character you played as in the first game, Riley. It's still a similar dialogue situation where you're talking to other people as you go, and that shapes your relationships and changes how the story unfolds and who Riley is as a person. But they've also added a walkie-talkie section, so you can now communicate with other characters around the island and get necessary information from them as you trudge around with your radio solving spooky mysteries and trying to work out what the hell's going on.
Is the art style a little different than the first
It does look
one?
a little bit different.
Yeah, because I thought it looked like they would look more 3D kind of.
I thought that too.
Shaded than
it definitely looked like that when it first started.
Yeah.
And then I felt like the longer it went on, the more familiar it looked.
There was that one shot where they were in a big cave, and and I was like, oh, are they?
I think there's some more depth now maybe than there was previously. But I it's set 5 years later as well. But I'm really excited for this one, and it's not long to go. Right, this was an actual. A release date announcement as well. Yeah, July. So very excited about that. That is good stuff. There was some DLC as well, right?
There
Shown
was.
off or announced coming to Switch.
Yeah, there was the Cult of the Lamb DLC. That's I assume will come to everything, not just Switch. I can't remember what was that called, Peter. Do you have it?
Cult of the Lamb. I've got it. It just says Cult of the Lamb DLC. Does it specify? I can Google it if you want.
It's okay. There's a Cult of the Lamb DLC coming. There's also a game that I really enjoy, A Little to the Left. They've got a Drawers and Cupboards DLC that's coming. That's a really good game. Quite chill. Kind of.
It looks very chill.
Unpacking vibes. Just got to put thing.
Relics of the Old Faith is the name of the DLC.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you, Computer Pete.
No problem.
That information. And Little to the Left DLC looks really good. I like that game. It's actually surprisingly hard. I've not finished it because there's a couple ones where I'm like, it's too hard. I don't understand.
Really?
Yeah.
Putting the stuff away in the drawer.
Yeah. Well, it's not always that. It's like sometimes it'll be like, cut the right leaves off this plant. And I still, after having done it maybe 4 times, every time I have to cheat because I've got absolutely no idea what it wants me to do.
I've never sat and looked at any A Little to the Left, but I thought the Cupboards and Drawers DLC, I was like, what is this? This looks lovely. Like the art style. It just looked so... Obviously, as we've said, most of the games that we saw in the showcase all had a very nice art style. They were all quite cozy and lovely. But there was something about that one specifically, the way it was all done, that I just thought, man, I could just curl up in a quilt and look at this, till I fall asleep. It was very, very charming.
I think you'd enjoy it. It's on Steam, and I think we got a code for it when it came out. I think we were sent a code because I played it on stream a few times, but it's a good game.
Yeah,
lovely.
Looks nice.
There's also Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, which is a bit of DLC coming to Shovel Knight. And then there was a sizzle reel at the end that showed Paper Trail, Little Kitty Big City, Chants of Sonar, Brotato, Escape Academy, the complete edition, FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's, Security Breach, and Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Hey, if you think Hi-Fi Rush looks like flipping, what's it called? That game on the
Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio, thank you. Then I hope you're paying attention to this one because that looks way more like it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Little Kitty Big City looks fantastic.
Oh, I've been waiting for that game for I've been following them.
Put hats on your cat and you run around and steal. It looks like Untitled Goose Game. Like you're stealing things from people and squeezing through gaps they can't get through and things.
That is it Page? What's the first one you said that in the thing?
Paper Trail.
Paper Trail. That looks interesting. You have to like fold a piece of paper to help your character kind of get through to the next area.
Oh, that is cool.
It's a bit like the Pedestrian in the sense you have to kind of like link things up to be able to get to the goal, but it looks pretty cute.
Yeah, it does. It would take you, dear viewer / listener, a shorter amount of time, I should say, to watch the Indie World presentation than to listen to us talk about it.
But we've done it now.
We've done it now, and it's well worth a watch. I think it's only 20-ish minutes long, and I was really impressed by this style of presentation. I enjoyed it. And I know it was short anyway, but it's kind of flew by and it's a real visual treat. We've come a long way from just advertising brown shooters in every single sort of live stream or conference, that kind of stuff. It was great. I really liked it.
Well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter, should you tell everyone where they can find us on the internet? Oh, wait. Right. Let us know what you thought of the Indie World Showcase in the comments before Peter does that. Let us know right now.
Go on.
Do it now.
Peter starts talking. To tell us what you think. And if he starts talking, you're not finished, you just got to press send, no matter how far you are into the sentence. Ready?
YouTube.com and twitch.tv /Team TripleJump. That's where all of our videos and, well, not really all of our live streams go out anymore because we only live stream on Twitch for the time being. But we'll go to YouTube for special occasions, perhaps. But head to both of those. When we're streaming on Twitch, we're modded by Lob Rotovich, Trolling Badger, and Mr. Black. And if you've got Amazon Prime and you're paying for it already, part of that bundle that you might not be utilizing is a Twitch sub. So you can just use that and it won't cost you anything extra. You're already paying for it. So have a look at that if you'd like to. Twitter.com and Facebook.com /Team TripleJump for video and live stream announcements, legacy video content, Twitch stream highlights of the week, all sorts of things put there by Fraser and by us, bits of weird news and lots of things. TikTok.com/@Team TripleJump is where all of our TikToks are posted by Ashton Matthews. And Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. You can go there and see all of our Patreon tiers where lots of different rewards are available, including some podcast-related ones if you want to ask questions or be a producer or other things too. So have a look at all those, please, if you'd like to. Please, thank you.
Did you see this week's Twitch stream highlight of the week of James being fed like a horse?
I was going to say, usually the Twitch stream
Yes.
highlights of the week are James doing something completely unrelated to video games, like breathing air or having a drink of water, because I think Fraser's just given up at this
I think
point.
he just finds just James.
He just goes into a
existing funny,
James stream and just like, right, where's a bit of James like
making a loud noise.
just doing something very banal. That's it. That's
Yeah.
the best thing to come from Triple Jump's live streams this week.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest look for us generally.
I love it.
But
Well,
if you want to
that's
see
the-
some microcosm of Jenkins, then that's
It's
where
quite,
you go.
The horse one this week was a bit much for me. I
Yeah,
had to
it was-
turn
it was kind of
Maybe
grotesque.
It was a bit strange,
uncomfortable.
yeah.
Grotesque, yeah.
That's the joke though. The Harry Hill joke is that the TV highlight of the week he would do every week would just be someone sort of coughing into a handkerchief. or
Right,
something.
yeah,
That's
something
kind of-
very simple. But
Yeah.
for people who don't understand that, people might think, wow, streams were good
That's the
this
best
week,
thing
weren't
that-
they? Streams
Yeah.
are really good this week.
We have a website. It's triplejU.mp. It spells jump. It's very clever. If you want to join our Discord, triplej.mup/Discord to chat with our wonderful community. On there, we're modded by Jack, Joe, Tori, and Hollow Eyes. And if I told you something, bloody well do it, all right? If you want to listen to the podcast in its audio form, why not go to triplej.mup/podcast and catch up on our live stream VODs, go to triplej.mup/VODs. And to check us out on Cameo, us three, or James Jenkins, you want him to eat something out of his hand like a horse, go to triplej.mup/cameo. And it's lastly, from me, if you want to buy some sick and cool Triple Jump merch like that t-shirt or this jacket, or Peter's t-shirt, you can go to triplejumpshop.com.
Yes.
And make sure you're following @TripleJumpShop on Twitter for the latest merch announcements.
Buy yourself some nice logo merch.
Yeah.
As we've said several times, we've got some ideas for new merch, but we want to shift some older stuff before we do that. So if you've been waiting, I'm getting really emotional.
Don't cry.
Then please buy a mug. Why not follow Peter and Ashton on Instagram and Twitter @thatPeterAustin and @ScrambledAshton, and myself just on Twitter @confused_dude. We do lists every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Thursday being the joint stream.
Blaze it.
Also on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly, Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. Weirdest Games is monthly, a week early for patrons of a certain tier. The After Dark podcast is fortnightly on Mondays for patrons, and the podcast is every Saturday. Why not leave a 5-star review on your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. We'd really appreciate
Ben,
it.
when did you change your read? Did you do that last week or this week?
Yeah, he did it last week.
Last week.
I do miss we do shows all the
bloody time.
All the
but
bloody time.
He took that out.
I did. I
Wow.
just felt like it, rather than say that vagueness, we should promote something that we actually do that we don't promote normally.
I go away for a week and a half, and this place
Yeah,
does
he
the
messaged
opposite
me
and
and
fall
he was
apart
like,
without
change
me.
it. I've written
it
my
gets
Change
better.
it, please. I would like this in the running orders going forward, because I did it while you were off 1 week, and then when you came back and did the running orders again, it reverted to the old one. Because most of my read at the end here is not what I end up saying.
No.
I end up just seeing it and going, "That's not what I'm going to say."
I have changed it a bit since I first started doing this. But,
Yeah. Anyway, now it's word for word. So there. But we do shows all the bloody time, so come check them out. There's a weirdest game coming out this week, Peter, isn't there?
Yes, it's Pen Triathlon, which will mean if you don't just know that game, then you will have absolutely no idea what to expect from Pen Triathlon. But it was fun and weird and a little bit, was it sexy at any point? I think it was a little bit sexy.
bit sexy.
Bit sexy, bit problematic. Bom,
Yeah.
bom, badilla, bom,
Yes,
bom,
it
blum,
was.
bom, bom,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah, it was problematic. So go and have a look at that on the weekend, please, if you'd like.
Do so.
Do it.
There's just enough time, Ashton, to talk about this week's sponsor once again, please.
Is of course the fans who are banding together to pay for a rebrand for Arcane's new game Redfall, and they want to call it Dreadfall.
Boo.
Oh.
Get over it. But also, it's okay to be a bit cross because it's a shame. Anyway, thank you so much for listening / watching, everybody. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.